Education work session, March 6, 2018, to order. And if we would stand, please, for the pledge of allegiance. Well, actually,
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, if you would, please call for the vote.
Mr. Mitchell? Here. Ms. Taylor? Ms. Gass? Ms. McGowan? Here. Ms. Momney? Present. Ms. Dudley? And Ms. Seats.
Present. Thank you. Item C on the agenda is approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. I will entertain a motion for approval, and then I'll entertain a second. I have a motion, and I have a support. Any changes or corrections to the agenda? We have asked that item 2 on the agenda be moved down on the agenda because we have 2 board members that are going to be present, but they're running a little late. One's coming from a job and the others dealing with robotics. So if that is acceptable with the board, we will ask for the vote to call. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Mrs. Momney? Yes. Ms. Seats?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Item D on the agenda at this time is public comment, and according to our policy, we have allowed 30 minutes for public comment. Is there anyone in the public at this time which wishes to approach the board? You may come at this time. Will you please give us your name and your address? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Emma Kennard. I live at 270 East Main Street here in Bethlehem, Harbor, Michigan. And I'd like to get a clarity. I've asked more than once, and I haven't got a clear understanding why our children are not being given homework. How do the parents know what their children is learning if they don't have homework? And isn't that in the contract, would that be a violation in the contract for our superintendent not to demand homework for the children? I'd like to have that clearly understood, and I will have that in writing, and I expect an answer.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard, and we will make sure we get your response. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the public? I mean, to address the board at this time from the public. If not, the next item on the agenda is employee appreciation. We are waiting on Coach Harvey, so we will move that item down. And so at this time, we're at item 3, and it is business and finance. We'd like to introduce Kim Lindsay to and welcome him to Benton Harbor Area Schools from Reman and Associates. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
Hi, board. The finance report is like what I understand you're normally used to seeing. So you have the general fund summary for the month of January. Total vendor payments for the month were just over $800,000. The capital projects fund, so the old sinking fund, first sinking fund, very little activity in the last month. One disbursement of $7,200, some small receipts and some interest, leaving a balance in there of just over $1.22 million. The new sinking fund, which was approved in this last go-round of votes. Also, no expenditure activity this month. Some receipts, some property taxes, some interest. So we end the month of January with $1.224 million in that new sinking fund. The check register has been presented for your review. Once again, total disbursements for the month out of the general fund were $800,000, just over that. $4,300 from the food service fund. Once again, just under $7,300 in the 2007 capital projects fund. And there were about $4,900 worth of disbursements from the student activity accounts. So the total disbursements for all funds, $816,855.93. On the next tab is the aged accounts payable. As you can see, we're in pretty good shape there. Bills are all being paid, and we're current on those. And I'll just note that today it looks like we are finally able to successfully get the banking changeover to occur. We've got the 3% ORS refunds going out Friday. Went through those this afternoon, and it looks like bills are going to be paid tomorrow along with regular payroll. Will be coming through the office tomorrow for approvals and stuff too. So all is starting to happen. The last page of your report is the budget to actual summary for the year through the end of October. As you can see on this report, we've anticipated about $30.5 million of revenue. To date, about 12.9 has come in. Most of the property taxes, the local stuff has all come. We're still waiting on the last several months of state aid, which are the big dollar amounts. And then last Friday, before Carolyn left, she made a substantial draw on the title funds. I believe that's the first one this year. So we'll get, as soon as we get all the grant accounting sorted out there, we'll make sure that those draws are current. Hopefully that happens in the next couple of weeks. On the expenditure side of things, we're kind of right in line there. About 40% of the budget has been spent through January. You'll see a few line items that look unusual. Those have to do with the grant stuff where the budget amendments will be coming through in the spring to get things in the right cues. Any questions on the finance report?
Any questions from the board?
A little easy on this first night.
Thank you. Since none of this information was really mine.
But we'll get tougher, believe me.
Oh, yeah. And then also, I think in your standard reports are the utility reports, so those are all in there as well. For all the various water, sewer, electric, gas, and natural gas.
Are there any questions from any members of the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you.
Human Resources, Ms. Baptist.
Good evening, board. I have my employment updates memo for your review. As usual, it starts with our current openings, an update on how many long-term subs we have filling vacancies, the resignations that we currently have, which will be presented to you next week for your approval. And then I've also listed my schedule of recruitment coming up. The most upcoming will be next week. We'll be at Central State University and Southwestern Michigan College recruiting. The asterisks will be tentative dates, depending on time, if I'm available to get down south. I'd like to do a southern tour. And then for sure, we've got the Michigan schools that we'll be visiting in April. HR has created a Benton Harbor Area Schools vacancy report, kind of highlighting all of our positions on one page, and that has been put out to all of these schools and more using Handshake, that app. And so that is a tool that we're hoping will garner some candidates from colleges and universities. So even if I'm not able to physically go there, we are putting out our information and highlighting the district using this tool.
Excellent.
That's it.
Any questions for Ms. Baptiste? If no questions, I do see that Coach Harvey has arrived. Coach Harvey, you're not in a hurry. We're trying to wait on at least one more board member. Okay, so if you do have to, just let me know, but we'd like to wait till we get another board member so that we can, celebrate you. Next on the agenda, Ms. Robinson, Instructional and Student Support Department update, please.
Good evening, board. What we do have attached is the summer school proposal. It is a framework for our summer programming in 2018. We're partnering with 21st Century to have we're working with some of their programming and staff on the day with providing enrichment programming. And really the idea of it is using the 21st Century staff to have the enrichment piece and then have intervention during that time. We are proposing a two-week sessions. So you have there June 18th through 29th, July 16th through 27th, August 6th through the 17th. 6 days each session. We also have just ideas for the end of the session trips planned, or just ideas that we brainstorm around. The time, 9:30 to 1:30, we are collaborating with Boys and Girls Club. We'll be meeting with them in a couple weeks to try to get that time adjusted so that our students will have summer school and then be able to go to the Boys and Girls Club in that time frame. We have planned out too what we're trying to put in place for communication. One of our big things is that parent-teacher conferences are coming up next week, and we want to be able to roll this out and give the information to the students so that they can sign up early, we can get some numbers going, and get things rolling. So we have parent-teacher conferences for middle and high school next week. We want to be able to present information to the parents then, and then in a couple weeks we have the elementary schools. We have information on the document as well for our high school, sharing the program between high school and Dream, so they're working together as well. And then we're offering elective classes, gym, Spanish, and writing to those students who want to take that during the summer and get ahead. And then also remedial classes, ELA, math, and writing also. Mr. Scott is heading this piece, so he is working with first he, as well as Andrews University, and like I said, Boys and Girls Club on this whole plan. This program is funded by the Title I budget. It is approved in NEGS, and there is a total budget of $156,045 for this. This includes staff, benefits, supplies, and petrol. And according to the old policy 2440, this has to be approved.
Any questions from the board? Yes, Trustee Mom.
So it's going to be 2-week periods. Each period is going to go to a different building. So then it's like the July 18th to 29th, only taking students that are at that grade level for that building. Say that would be the MLK, then we're going to be 3rd through 5th those 2 weeks.
They would all be at one building, but that's all dependent upon the real estate plan as well. So that's even has to be a little bit flexible. So everything is kind of waiting for what's going to be approved in the real estate plan. So yeah. So, but the idea of it is to have at one school K through 8, and then once they move to the next school, it'll be the same thing, K through 8. 6 through 12 will always 9 through 12 will be at the high school.
Okay, it's limited to 40 students. So how many teachers are you going to need per week?
So that all depends. We didn't discuss numbers yet because we were waiting to see how many kids we would get in. We did put that limit on there. However, if we get more registrations in, that number could increase. And then that means the teaching staff would increase as well. And so what we're thinking about this as being is an intervention, kind of like a pull-out program. So teachers will work with four students at a time. So it really is, yeah, it's really dependent. It could be 4 to 10 teachers, just in per grade level. So we have not really honed down on the number of teachers.
Okay, so if you're only gonna have 40 students, and I'm sorry, am I taking your questions?
No.
And it's K through 8, is each teacher going to have students from multiple grade levels, or are you going to have a teacher for each?
Yeah.
And so if there's 9 grade levels, so they're gonna have 4 kids apiece, and that's it?
And so what you have to factor in, these kids are gonna be on a rotational basis, so they could possibly have all 40 kids. The other kids are gonna be working with the 21st century, so they're pulling out kids throughout that time period per grade level. So we would not allow them to have just 4 kids for that time span. They'll have a bigger caseload than that.
But how could you have all, for some
Yeah,
reason,
I know.
this is not clicking with me. How would you have all 40 kids at one time if they were all different grade levels? How would one teacher get all 40?
So one teacher wouldn't get all 40. So like if they're 21st century, let's say they're doing music programs. So some students would be in music, some students would be in gym, some students would be in art. So they would be on a rotational basis there. So they would all be captured with the teacher at that time. And so it's probably going to be, and they'll have hour sessions for each of them, but within that hour session, the teachers are pulling kids out during that time. So no one's going to have like all 40 of them at one time. And these are what we're looking at are the teachers who work with them, or are the interventionists, or teachers who are aspiring to be intervention specialists. So they'll have like a wide range of students that they work with. Okay.
So the kids now with the music and the gym and everything, is that going to be handled by 21st century? Wow. The other teachers are working on the math and reading. Okay. Hopefully I'll understand.
And what we'll do, this is like the framework. So I'm bringing in, hopefully next week, the person who brings child behind this to answer any other clarifying questions as well. So, yeah. We'll have
And it's a reasonably small budget, $150,000. What happens if we get lots of kids? Where's the money going to come from?
Well, we'll have to limit.
Mr. Lindsay, you need to listen to this question.
Isn't there some 21st century funds that are also part of this too? So you've
Yeah,
only listed the Title I funds.
Yes,
here,
I've
correct?
only listed the Title I funds. 21st century funds will be for those teachers. So we're going to try to stay within our budget. Because that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, please don't just try.
Mhm.
We have to.
Mhm. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
I mean, usually we need opportunity for the kids, but we also have to do it.
Yeah, so if we get more students, then we just won't be able to start more students. So that's why we have a budget, so that we stay within that range.
I'm confused with the teachers.
Mhm.
You said we'll have art, music.
And that was an example?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I realize that, but then you're gonna have regular certified teachers still working with the kids? Or is it just interventionists?
Well, they are certified teachers. The interventionists are certified teachers. So you won't have, like we used to do back in the day, where we had a classroom of teachers, and they had that group of students all day. During the summer, they won't do that.
All right, so are these teachers hired for all the 2-week sessions, or is it I'm just doing 2 weeks and then I'm gone and then we have to have somebody else?
Our focus on staffing will be those who could work the entire time. That will be our focus. And depending on who applies and if they are available, we would want to get those teachers who can work full time first. Then we would kind of go on from there.
Okay. Now, if I hear correctly, we're not going to have any regular classroom teachers. It's going to be just the certified interventionists
And
that are
those-
doing this?
And those teachers who are aspiring to do that, because right now, for our interventionists, I believe we have 3 within our district. And we have one who is certified to be one, but she's not working in that role. So it could also be those teachers who want to aspire to be an interventionist. So it just depending on the number of students that we have, once we get those registration records in, if we can just use those teachers, then that would be fine. But then if not, then we would have to go out of that scope and kind of draft or get more teachers who have support certified teachers.
But it's then totally different than years in the past because there's a classroom teacher, so these guys are not even considered to work with the kids. Because
They're gonna apply, right.
Because you're just using the certified interventions and not the classroom teachers.
And I will go back and say this, that the certified, the interventionists, they have the same certification as a classroom teacher. There's nothing different.
I know, a classroom teacher, there's a difference and you know your kids and what skills are needed versus someone who does not work with them.
Correct, and do remember this too, the interventionists are working with students as well on a daily basis that are given by the teachers. So they have somewhat of information about the students and how to work with them as well.
You can have like 8 or 9 teachers for 40 kids, so is there gonna be an administrator also?
Well, from what I understand is the administrator is going to be the 21st century. So like, they have a site coordinator, so that person, that site coordinator will be the administrator, and that will then be funneled through the 21st century funds.
Does it make sense to have
No.
for 40 kids? Thank you.
Any more questions on the summer school program? Next item on the agenda, we can move down to facilities. We're still waiting on Mr. Taylor. If you would,
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the inspection update. So this is just to bring some information back to the board on next steps in relation to some of the questions the board asked us to look into and potentially move forward on. As is in the report that's provided, we did do investigation into whether or not the Benton Charter Township, the townships had jurisdiction over some of the specifications that would be required in the reopening of those schools located in those areas. Did receive a response from the township in relation to that, as well as the verification that we would need to go through the Michigan Department of Education, Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, Bureau of Fire Services, and Bureau of Construction Codes to actually initiate those inspections. As part of the arrangement with CSM Group for the reopening plan, they have also agreed to work with us to request those inspections. At this point in time, then, if it is the board's will to enact or empower the administration to move forward with requesting these inspections, we can then do so with the disclaimer statements that are included in the report for your review. Just basically giving authorization to the group to initiate those inspections. And this may also be a little bit ahead, cart in front of the horse, depending on the conversations that the board is going to have here in short order in relation to the real estate plan. So at some point, we'll just need permission to proceed if you would like us to do that.
okay, questions from the board, because this is Benton Area Schools authorized as CSM. So this will be the time discussion. Trustee Brown.
What are the fees?
To my best assessment, within about $500 will cover the fees for those inspections. I believe last time I looked on the site, it was about $150 for a plus cost.
Where would that come from?
That can be paid from sinking fund dollars or from the general fund.
Any other questions for this inspection update? No?
The second item is in response to the board wanting more clarity and moving forward in relation to the expenditure of the safety fund grant funds that are available for some of the renovation work. The next step in that process, since doing the assessment previously, is to actually move into drilling down to the specific costs related to the specific identifying goals that the district wishes to achieve with those activities. To that point, I've invited CSM Group to come and speak directly to this particular proposal. If the board would so will, ask them to come up for a moment and share with you the context of this.
Is that fine with the board?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we'll do.
I believe you both, the board met during the last special meeting, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us here today. My name is Tom Martin, but by means of introduction, I am the Director of Safety, Security, and Training Compliance One Group. My history is 41 years of law enforcement experience, 28 years with the City of Kalamazoo, 13 with the City of South Haven, retired as chief 2 years ago. What the CSM Group would like to do with Benton Harbor Schools is make it a point to review your emergency plans and your preparedness plans. Meet with local authorities throughout the community to ensure that we can collaborate with them to bring forward a safer school, a safer environment with the schools. We would recommend revisions to any of your plans or policies. And we also create an action plan. I know you've been surveying it and inspected and everything else to death. I sensed that in last week's meeting. What you have here is a company that's going to put the actions and the recommendations working with you on the road. If you're looking for timeframes to get that done, once we have approved contracts, we certainly could move quickly, although right now, with everything that's going on throughout our country, with schools, we are starting to book up different venues. What we propose to do is provide training to your staff, your students, and everything from de-escalation to disengaging and providing, again, moving to a safe environment. Having said that, I guess I would entertain questions if you have any.
Questions from the board? CSM? We have no questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Speak to the construction side.
Yeah, so one of the other parts is Tom mentioned that we would not only come and actually kind of give you a menu of items that really would be the recommendations for moving forward in the actual district. The other side of it is once you actually identify what those items are, say for example, secure vestibules and things along those lines. One of the things that we do is, since there's 2 different companies underneath one umbrella that you have in front of you right now, Tom with the Compliance One group, they'll come in, they'll actually go ahead and give you that menu, and they can complete the trainings, they can do all those things. When it comes to the actual construction piece of it, that's really where the CSM and myself come in, and that's where we can actually implement those and get those actually completed. Whether it's actually building out those secure vestibules, installing security systems, whatever it might be, the construction piece of it, you don't have to go to another company, anything along those lines. That's where you can just react quickly and implement those based upon the recommendations and the administration. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Any questions from the board for the construction side? If none, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you both very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, for respect of time and Coach Harvey, we would like to, at this time, ask, I believe it's the athletic director, to come forward and with Coach Lisa Harvey and support. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, good evening. Thank you for allowing time for the athletic department to honor Coach Lisa Harvey tonight. Lisa Harvey, a staple in Benton Harbor athletics for the past few decades, not only as a coach but as a player. is stepping down this year from her time here at Benton Harbor. Ms. Harvey has voiced that her decision to step down and away from her current coaching gigs to focus and dedicate more time to her children, to her family, and discover what the next chapter of her life will be. Ms. Harvey, I do know, plans to stay in her role at Green Academy as an interventionist assisting students, and I personally will seek other ways to involve her in the athletic department. We discussed maybe her taking on a middle school coaching gig, whatever way that she could continue to coach students and assist with student athletes. Lisa Harvey finished with a combined record of 83-74. This included a Final Four in 2015, a regional championship in 2015, a district championship in 2014 and 2015, a Big 16 conference, back when we were part of that conference, championship in 2013. She was the recipient of the Marion County Coach of the Year Award in 2015. She was a recipient of the Regional Coach of the Year Award in the same exact year in 2015. She also was coach of a Miss Basketball recipient in 2016. Ms. Harvey, the athletic department thanks you and your years of service. I was only lucky to be a part of only one of those years, but we thank you for your service to this department, to our district, to this community, and most importantly, our young Lady Tigers. You will be missed, and good luck to you in your future endeavors. So on behalf of the athletic department and the Board of Education, we'd like to present to you these certificates of accomplishment, and thanks for being here.
That I have a tendency to be long-winded, but tonight, short on purpose. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Board of Education. It's so nice to see all of these new faces together. Faces of individuals and people who have watched me grow in this community. That have watched me matriculate from a young girl into a woman, and to be able to share my skill sets and talents and my certified wisdom to be able to give back to the community that has given so much to me. I want to thank Benton Harbor Area Schools, first and foremost, for hiring me into this district to be able to serve in the capacity which I have. One, as an intervention specialist, where I feel like I will continue to be a life coach, a mentor, and a leader to these young lives that still need X's and O's, offenses and defenses to lead their lives. And so, to the athletic department, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Crucial. It has been a short tenure in terms of with my coaching tenure here. However, I thank you for the support this season. I look forward to the visions that you collaborate with this district, with this board, with this community moving forward. I am grateful to have served in the capacity as head girls varsity basketball coach for 8 years. I've been able to make meaningful touches, to have improved lives, to have inspired dreams, and to collaborate with heartbeats of parents, to embrace what it means to be a resident in a citizen of Benton Harbor and the community. To be able to have young ladies to continue on beyond their secondary education. Some of those have received scholarships. There have been 4, I think 5 under my tenure, that have gone on to receive basketball scholarships. But there's been a plethora of students that has continued on with their beyond secondary education and have graduated from college. I remember Kayla Dumas when she texted me on her graduation day and said, "Coach, thank you for inspiring me to want to
ambition for college. And she would communicate with me and ask me about vocabulary words for her papers. And if any of you all know me, I say high octane in vernacular and ambiguity in spokenness. But, I hope that the way that I've inspired lives has represented this district with pride, with excellence, with leadership, and to your expectations. It has allowed me to use this platform to have the keys to lives. And I have embraced that with such integrity. I have been mindful of my being. I've been mindful of my character. And I'm writing a book, and it's a compilation of quotes. And I have college coaches and I have professionals who ask me, can you write something just for me? Well, you all in the district, you all have a writer in me here. And one of the quotes that I wrote, it says that character lasts longer than a ball game. And it does. And that your character is greater than the legend of your name. So I'm hoping that the character that I've exuded, the leadership, the pride, the integrity, is what will retire in your minds, in my community-focused citizens, in the young lives that I have been so blessed and fortunate to coach, to mentor, and to instruct, to guide. I hope that the seeds that I have cultivated in their dreams, the seeds of their ambitions, the things, the context of their lives that I hold so dear to me, that I will forever covet and embrace. I hope that that is the jersey that you all, that will bear my name in citizenry. I also want to thank, well, I call him my associate head coach, but he's not present, Coach Marcus Muhammad, who was there with me for 6 years of my tenure, who was a philosophical, cognitive stimulant for those young lives of manhood that represented the voice of some of the fathers that some did not have or own. And to make sure that we maximize the integrity and the expectations of the district. It wasn't just about the program, but it was about our community and what that meant. Quinn Grooms, Jocelyn Bronson, my JV and my freshman coach that have been with me for the last 3 years, their contributions and dedication to these young lives and young ladies. And I wanted to integrate and combat the inequities that lies within the infrastructure of our athletic department. And I think it's so important for our young ladies to see that women can be empowering, they can be professional, they can be the prowess of manhood, but the embodiment of womanhood. And I wanted them to see that. And so I thank them for the garments that they wore in their character to measure up to the expectations that I wanted for this program. I can continue on and on. I'm extremely humbled. I am humbled. But I know that there are life assignments for me and that there are seeds of my dreams that I need to cultivate as well. My goal was to stand in my integrity. No one thought I was going to stay beyond my daughter's graduating. But I was not hired to coach my children. I was hired to coach a program. And indeed, that's what I did. I truly believe that commitment and integrity completes assignments. And so I had 6 seniors that when Kaiser graduated 2 years ago, I had people vetting in the community that I was going to resign or quit. But if anyone knows my character, quitting is not a word that is synonymous with Lisa Harvey. And so I had 3 of my players to ask me, Coach, I know you're not leaving us. And how could I look into the eyes of those dreams to not complete my assignment when I had given so many to them? And so I stayed, and I graduated those 6 seniors, 8 to combine with the 2 managers. If I could read you the compilations of the texts and emails that I had received from this throughout the state of Michigan, throughout Southwest Michigan, Berrien County, families, players, just people, I have been humbled. I did not know, and honestly, I did not know how my heartbeat has impacted, affected, effected, and infected lives and families. Because when we are hired in a capacity to serve, we don't look at it for the ambitions that we can accomplish. We look at it for the call to duty. So I pray and hope that I have answered your call of duty, that I have represented the best of my integrity and humility. So I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for the acknowledgement. And I say this, I said this to Mr. Trey, in any capacity that I can serve moving forward to continue to transition the athletic department, our district moving forward, you have my voice. You have my voice of allegiance. You have my voice of honor. You have my wisdom. And I thank you all for blessing me and growing me with the knowledge and the character that I now own, because it is my experience moving forward that I am able to continue to roar every time I try. So thank you.
At this time, the board members would like to,
We're gonna miss you, Lisa. Gonna miss seeing you on the sideline, those stilettos. Getting down in the defensive stand, yelling at the girls, telling them what to do. I was a basketball player, so you know, Mr. Harvey was my coach. I was raised by your dad, and I often remember when you came back from college and would help him with us, to mold us, to prepare us, talk about the basics. I've never seen such a wealth of knowledge in basketball that comes from your family alone, and how it was embedded in us. And I've seen so many opportunities for growth in other coaches that I'm like, you know, Mr. Harvey, they don't know what they do. Why don't they talk to Mr. Harvey? Why don't they get that information from him? Why haven't they talked to him to get the basics? Because that's what y'all taught us. And I remember when you brought in the Detroit Pistons player, was it Rick Horn?
Yes, oh my God.
That was like the highlight of our basketball career. Came in the basketball career. And we was like so elated that we had a professional basketball player from the Detroit Pistons come in and do a basketball camp for us. And it was Harvey did that for us, and we was elated. She always came back and shared her stuff with us, you know, being an alumni. She came back even while she was in college. So we do appreciate you coming here and coaching the young ladies. And, you know, it's sad that you can't continue on, you know, to retirement just like your dad did. But I understand, you know, you have things you have to do. You gotta do what's best for you. So I'm gonna miss you.
Thank you so very much.
any other board members at this time before? Ms. Harvey, you already know I admire you very much. You are one of the most articulate people that I do know, other than Dr. Teasley. So I appreciate your commitment to the area and coming back. You could be anywhere, especially with your girl. I know you're committed to the area because of your family, and you have exposed this district to people who this area have never been exposed to, you and your family. I know there were times when Skylar was here, and I know you all are, it's almost like a second daughter to you. And we're kids, we're just so grateful to have such exposure. And whatever endeavor that you do, you will be successful because you have the heart to give to people, asking nothing in return. And so I commend you for, Ms. Gully said, for your stilettos. I've never seen anybody who could coach and could be so graceful at the same time. Thank you, and you will be missed, and thank you for remaining with our district in the capacity. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much as well. If I can leave you all with one other quote, and it's Seeds for Children. Our children are born colorblind. And so I say to you all, my eyes are colorblind. But one thing that I know that is transparent and authentic for me is that I bleed, I love orange and black. And will forever rest in faith through me. Never waver. So my heart beats as a tiger, infamously, and I don't apologize for it.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
You too all as well.
And also, we could prepare a resolution from the board in recognition of the service of Ms. Harvey. I know the athletic department, and also we could prepare a resolution and that we could all sign it. And I'm sorry, I appreciate that. Thank you.
We normally do the handshakes in front, but. Thank you. Thank you so very much. We get a hug, but that's okay. We are one district. Yes.
She got to reach just like that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you. At this time, item number 2 on the agenda, since Vice President Gully has arrived, we will go to the discipline toolkit presentation, and we will turn this portion over to Dr. Teasley from the Michigan Department of Education. Thank you.
I've got the clicker attached to this one. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, school board members. Thank you for the opportunity to come share some very important information on the things that are going on in your district and the ways the Michigan Department of Education during RESA are supporting you in that effort, as always, to meet the needs of the children. We're going to stay a little unconventional. We're teachers, so this is what we do. So bear with us. So he's getting those slides uploaded for us now.
I have to use a Sue's computer.
Okay, well, can you just put the clicker in there? I don't care as long as I can do something. So while we're doing that, let me give you a little bit of background. So your district has been a partnership district since last April, and there are probably about 16 and growing partnership districts in the state. As a function of that, the Michigan Department of Education has put together a partnership district support team at MDE to talk about the issues that these districts face in common and the issues you face specific to your context, to figure out ways how we can reconfigure how we operate to support you. As a result of that meeting, there were several concerns shared regarding special education compliance in the district. So since I am the partnership district liaison, I went to the director and several other important staff members in the State Office of Special Education to figure out what are the issues and how can I help. So this is a culmination of the collaboration that we even do across offices. So I have here, can you put it in view mode so we don't have to see all the other stuff? That'd be great. Okay, there we go. Can you slide it over? There you go. So I always like to have a picture of the students. I always want to keep in mind why we do what we do. And what you see here is you have 3 young ladies with the biggest smiles on their face in the middle of controversy. Right? And that's really what our role is to, and no matter what's going on around them, is to ensure that result, that they have a smile on their face. And I equate that with them getting the proper education that they need, that their parents entrust us to deliver to them. So that's our focus. So let me introduce to you my co-presenters. We have Kelly Kendrick-Potts. She's a statewide monitor with the Office of Special Education. She has been monitoring in the district since last May, am I correct? The district has had a state monitor since 2014, just so you know. I am your partnership district liaison, you knew that, and I've been working in the district since July 2015. I started out working as one of the consultants that supported your education plan for your consent agreement. Just so you know, the partnership agreement is now the working education plan, so I'm still serving in that role, just with a different title and a different perspective on the work. And then I also have Charles Thomas, who is the newest part of the support team from NDE here in the district since December. Since you have a number of special education compliance issues, he will be doing significant training on the discipline toolkit to really make sure that we're providing appropriate corrective actions for students with IEPs and for general ed students as it relates to behavior. And I know that's been an issue that I've heard a lot about here at the board meetings I've attended, and that some of you share with me individually. Okay. So let me pass it on to Kelly.
Good evening. Good evening. Under IDEA, which is the federal law for special education, there are many things that must occur. In Benton Harbor, some of the issues have revolved around child find, identification, discipline, timely and reliable data. For child find, your obligation is to locate, identify, and evaluate students who are suspected of having a disability. In identification, we have been here because your district has been cited as over-identifying students in fixed year 13 eligibility categories, and we'll go to that on another slide, which ones that you will have to over-identify students in. Discipline, Charles is going to talk about discipline in a minute, but it's, your district has been monitored for discipline, and timely and reliable data has been a finding here. And the timely and reliable data relates to the timeliness of data, like the kids' IEPs have to be done annually and on time. So within 365 days, the kids have to have an annual IEP for kids who are already determined to be eligible. I can give you a scenario like today. We were looking at data, and the data that is entered into your power school system does not match what's entered into the state system, so we have a data discrepancy. There have been instances where we've had IEPs that were not counted on count day because they were valid at that time. We have some of our, we have a relationship across the state with all of our intermediate school districts for reasons. We have 2 members that serve on the special education team in the back. Back there, and Robin Snyder, they work collaboratively with us. We work together, and we have updated the way we work as a state. So the ISD is the subrecipient of the IDEA funds. They work with your district to ensure that things are going like they're supposed to for compliance and monitoring and implementation of programs and services. We at MPE support them and work together as a partner.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Charles Thomas. I was brought in to work with the district on discipline, with the discipline toolkit, as well as to close out some work that was issued to your district. Here you see a snapshot for B4A and B4B. Those indicators revolve around, around discipline for students with IEPs that were suspended out of school for more than 10 days. If you look at the top here for B4AB, we monitored in the winter of 2014, a corrective action plan was issued to your district, and corrective action plans for districts it's a one-year process for you to develop a plan, fix whatever non-compliance was found, and we come in and we verify and we close out. It was due in April of 2015. As you can see from the slide, it's still in progress. It has not been completed. During that visit as well, there were school-level corrective actions that were noted. They were never completed. They are not due anymore because the students have either left the school or they have graduated. In 2016, well, I'll begin by saying 2015, we did not come back, we just looked at the data. That's the year of correction. So we looked at the data that we provided for 2016, and it prompted us to come back for another visit. Pretty much the same non-compliance was found, and it is still outstanding from 2016. And as you can see, where it just has B4B, going down where it says SOCAP, that's the student level, non-compliance column, you can see that those are still open and they still haven't been closed.
Those numbers, number compliance or the category?
Under the student level?
Under the SL cap.
Those are identifiers for each student level cap. In order to work with the district and to close out some of this uncorrected non-compliance, we met today to do a file review, to look at student files to see what training is needed, so we can develop a plan so we can get this work off the table because we know we have more work ahead of us. I do have a concern because we requested certain documents for the files, and during our review, we were not provided with all the documentation that was needed. So when we're doing file reviews, it's hard for us to develop a plan that's going to be helpful when we're missing documentation. So that's just a concern that the team had, because we had people from MDE, we had people from ISD, as well as people from the district. So that was a concern that we all shared because we were expecting complete files, and that was not what's provided for us. Next one.
Yeah.
With the complaints. Yeah.
This one here.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yes, not on this one.
It's not on there.
The special education. State complaints. Okay.
Yeah, they have it on their side. It's not showing on the side.
Okay, in the state of Michigan, on average, we receive 300 state complaints per year for the entire state of Michigan. Benton Harbor has had like 17 state complaints, which is roughly 6%, which is very high for a district this size. Some of the state complaints that we have what are called complaint caps, which are complaint corrective action plans. And these are always associated with students because the complaint is based on something with the student. We have one complaint that was systemic, meaning the problem was very broad, and there were 47 and 47 students involved.
77.
77 total, 77 total students involved in that complaint alone. You have complaint caps, that were like, you had one from 2016 that was due August 14, 2017, and it still has not been completed, the work hasn't been completed. We have another one that was due in 2016, is still in progress. One from 2017 was due September 19th of 2017, and it was turned in 11/30/2017, and then it was returned by us because it needed modifications, which it was resubmitted in February 1st. You had one due January 31st, 2018, is still in progress. One due November 1st, 2017, nothing has been submitted for that one. You have one that has 50 hours of compensatory education due to the student, meaning outside of the school day, at a cost of about $50 per hour for just that one student.
No, I'm not an educator. I'm not an educator. So you kind of walk me and perhaps you have the reasoning on why this is happening. Is this a people problem on the district's end or on Reese's end? Where does the problem lie?
You mean the problem as far as the complaints, or the problem as far as, okay. Oh, okay, for the complaints, individuals can file complaints or agencies can file complaints. So you have to have something that is complainable. Complainable is within IDEA. So like you have several complaints that involve around discipline or things related to discipline. You have complaints about identification or the lack thereof of students. Go back on.
Yours budget, you open it for the complaints?
Yeah,
Or you
it's
want-
not, the complaints are showing up on this
There, no.
one. Okay, 7.
Those things, except with the exception of the time and reliable data, those are the main areas that you have had complaints in. And usually, with the exception of one that I know of, usually it's a parent filing a complaint.
So does that fall within the realm of the building administrator, the teacher, special ed department?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Okay, we can talk about now the cost of non-compliance. Because usually we're out here, we talk non-compliance. People say, oh, you know what? They just didn't have the right participants at the meeting. No big deal. Yes, they didn't check a box. No big deal. But when you look at the cost of non-compliance, it goes much, much deeper than that. I mean, you're looking at, yes, a diminished reputation that your district is going to carry. You're going to look at lower student achievement because of the non-compliance. You're going to look at the time and effort and focus of individuals in the district focusing their energy elsewhere instead of on the students because of this non-compliance. But it also goes deeper than that. When you're looking at the attorney's fees that you have to spend because of these complaints, when you look at the amount of money that you have to spend for this compensatory education, when you look at that the ISD is withholding funds for this school because of this non-compliance. When you're looking at because IEPs are not timely, they cannot be counted on count day, so there's a loss of money. This is just simple compliance. And I wish I would have had time to give you exact numbers, but I did have someone estimate for us. And they said the amount of money that your district has lost because of this non-compliance is upwards of $500,000 because of non-compliance. So I know a lot of people, they don't understand the compliance part of it. But usually when you tie it to money, I know most of us, we all need money, we understand money. Don't understand that we're here, we're trying to work. We're not coming here saying that you're doing everything wrong, but some things have been done wrong. We're trying to work with the district as well as the ISD to correct these so you're not losing money any longer.
What's our percentage of kids that are in special education that need IEP, like from our student enrollment? What's the percentage?
About 400?
We got close to
Yeah, close to 400 students.
about 2,000.
Yes.
Yes.
There are other areas of uncorrected noncompliance that we have identified, which are timely and reliable data, which I spoke about that one already. The disproportionate representation, your district was monitored for over-identifying students with autism spectrum disorder, cognitive impairments, specific learning disabilities, and speech and language impairment. So those are the areas that they have been, that has some other uncorrected noncompliance. The federal government sets a guideline as to if you exceed that guideline, then you have the potential, you have to come in and monitor to see, but you have the potential of over-identifying students in an area. Meaning, you're identifying more students than for your population than there is.
Why would a district over-identify? What would be the rationale for the over-identification? Is it lack of expertise in the identification?
It could be training
Okay.
on the evaluation of students with suspected disability, or it could be policies and procedures that your district utilize.
I mean, pretty much that's it. When you're looking at over-identification, it could be the policies, it could be lack of programs in place. If you're, let's say you over-identify for a cognitive impairment in your students, then we want to come in and we want to look at the process, make sure that these students are truly cognitive impaired. They are not misidentified, which will cause them to miss out on a lot of their educational benefit in the general educational program.
So is there a possibility that there may be a section here, say in Benton Harbor, that truly has a higher percentage of students that have these? Because, you know, like I'm suspecting in Flint, you're going to see a high number after the water crisis. You're going to have a higher number of special ed students as a result of lead poisoning. Is it possible that that is tied to that there actually is that number of students that need to be identified?
It could be possible that those students are actually identified correctly. But once it exceeds our threshold, we have a duty to come out and review files to make sure that everything was done correctly. And many times when we call out for visit, you say, no, everything was fine. Their numbers are just high. But there are sometimes when you go out, you realize there's a flaw in the process that led to these students being identified. But the numbers could be high, to answer your question.
So have y'all monitored like the intake process as to how they assess the children and say, this is why we're putting you in special ed? Or did y'all just review the files and say, well, let's test this child because previously he scored this way, but now they're saying he's cognitive impaired, so there's a differentiation in scoring from when he was in previous grade than what it is now?
The intake process is under review. All the policies and procedures are under review as well.
Could there be clarification about the process and who is part of that process? The process of intake. So when you're talking about evaluation of students, who's actually doing the evaluation?
depends on what the suspected disability, the suspected disability is as to who would participate. A general standing would be a psychologist or someone who can evaluate, like a social worker, psychologist, it's gonna be a gen ed teacher, a special ed teacher, they're gonna be practitioners.
So it's a team of people.
It's a team.
Because I know we don't have, our district specifically does not have psychology. So it's a team of people.
So all of this is very important, and it's so important that it's now part of your partnership agreement. And you'll take a look at your partnership agreement addendum, because we want to flag to the district and to let you know how important it is to take care of these matters and to see how the issues that are arising in special education align with the major goals you've identified in your partnership agreement. So your 3 major goals are basically leadership, student well-being, and safety and academic achievement. And as you've heard, a lot of these issues of special ed line up exactly with those areas. If we don't identify children appropriately and categorize them appropriately as their disability, they won't get the services they need and they won't achieve as they should. That's academic achievement. We have students suspended beyond 10 days and not having a review of their placement of an IEP. That's your discipline issue. And then as far as accountability for making sure that this work is done, that's leadership. So when we, the partnership district support team, met to talk about the issues in Benton Harbor, and I went to work with the team in the NDE's Office of Special Education, I recommended that this be added to the partnership agreement. And Deputy Kiesler, with the blessing of Superintendent Winston, agreed, and that's why it's in your addendum that you'll be looking at this evening. I believe you have a copy of that for at least a week or so. So it's very important, but not only is it in the partnership agreement, you have a team of people. We're dedicated to getting these issues corrected, because remember that Tiger Prize slide that I showed earlier with the students smiling, the middle controversy, that's our goal. That's what we want to do. Yes.
So, okay, so it's been years, since we've had this, non-compliance in the special ed department. Me personally, as a board member, I've been on here since this is my first time hearing about it. So when MDE reports these things to the district, who actually do y'all communicate to? Because we have, actually I learned from like a community member that the special ed department was under investigation and that it was some non-compliance issues, but I don't know where it is backdated from 2014. All I know is that we often vote for people who leave the special ed department. Never knew what was going on or why we had such a high turnover and so many people leaving. So when this communication is sent, who do y'all send it to say, this is what needs to be done, this is non-compliance, because it's not being communicated to us?
So generally at the Department of Education, we communicate directly to the superintendent, and it's the superintendent's responsibility to communicate to the board. Sometimes also, communication is sent directly to the director of special education, and generally to either the director of special education or the superintendent, depending on the level of severity. So they're saying go for both.
For our current, for corrective actions, especially for focus monitoring, it goes to the director of special education. That's the person that's responsible for developing the corrective action plan, as well as correcting student level noncompliance.
I don't want to minimize the non-compliance, but if you were to say on a scale from 1 to 10, how concerning is our situation at the state level?
With
She
10,
said 25.
yeah, with 10, it's going to be
definitely
the
10.
highest,
Okay.
because we haven't had any districts in the state of Michigan ever go this many years without correcting their non-compliance.
Okay, that was pretty much my sidebar, I'm sorry, with Vice President Gully, because again, since I've been serving, I had no idea.
Which is why we're here, because we want to be sure in the work, and which is why I requested that it be placed in the partnership agreement addendum,
Because Mr. Thomas said earlier, we can't help if we don't have the correct data, right? And so we really need all partners and all leaders here in the district understanding the extent of the issue, so we can really serve the children the way that we intend to, the way that we promise that we will, and the way our parents expect. And the children expect that too. They show up every day and they want us to give them our best, not to over-identify them, put them in a placement that does not belong, that they don't belong in, or whatever. So here's some, go ahead.
Since there is blended population with students, the special ed is blended into the general population, is there something that the district can do to give special attention to some of these issues immediately, so that these kids can get the attention they need and there's no interruption to the education of the other students, and I don't need to again minimize. But since it's so blended, is there a plan to do some separation so these kids that deserve special attention for a period of time can get it?
Well, as Mrs. Potts said, that the Barry Marisa NDE team in collaboration with the district are reviewing all the IEPs, because you have to place students according to their IEP. So if 10% of the time I'm only with a resource teacher and 90% I'm in general ed, that we have to follow that. The law mandates that we do that. So once we review all of the files and make a determination of what the placements are, we could possibly make a recommendation on next steps from there. But right now, we're just trying to assess, where are the students? Is it the right, are they up to date? Were the right people at the table? Were parents invited, et cetera, just to be sure, we're really just starting ground zero. And once we get through that, we can definitely go to the next level of making recommendations.
Thank you.
So here's some things I want you to consider. So you have been notified, the district has been notified by the Michigan Department of Education, Office of Special Education, that you will be having monitoring of your special education program this spring. That notification, I think, went out a few weeks ago. Yes, so just so you know, that's gonna happen. Then also you have to know that there's still a possibility that you can get more state complaints. Individuals or agencies can complain. So it's so important for you to handle, when a parent brings up a concern, listen and handle it. Because a lot of times parents call me because they don't feel like they've been heard at the district, and sometimes it's something really simple. So, deal with it. These are your parents, your children, your students in the community. Hear their voices. If you don't know how to help them, call me. We can talk it through. We have all the support here. So, let's, handle them appropriately and expeditiously, so we don't have to go to the state level. Because then other agencies get involved, and sometimes lawsuits are levied against school districts, which is something we don't want to go there. We want to educate our children. We shouldn't even get to that point. We should be in the business of educating our kids. Also, I want to let you know that we are taking a look at your exposure and suspension policy to be sure that it is aligned with the state and federal law as it relates to students with IEP. So we will be giving you feedback and insight on that, because we want to be sure everything's lined up. And then I also think most importantly is we really want to get you beyond compliance, right? We want to get to where we are focusing on giving students high-level instruction every day, not going through and double checking. It's a lot of work when you don't do it right the first time, right? You write a paper and it's kind of sloppy, and the teacher tells you to go back and do it, and you're kind of slumped over like, oh my goodness, you don't want to do it. But if you give your best effort the first time, you have energy to go on to do something else even more exciting. So really doing it well the first time, having the systems in place is so crucial. And so here's some recommendations I want you to keep in mind that will help us help you to continue this road to compliance and getting beyond compliance and really serving our students with IEP so that they reach the goals we set forth for them in the partnership agreement and even exceeding them. So one is, in the partnership agreement, is where MDE is requiring that you have a monthly SPED compliance update to the school board. So this way, you know, how are we doing on getting our IPs up to date, contacting parents, et cetera, just being very transparent and open about how you're doing. Then another important one is you as a board and as a leadership team is really make sure that you require compliance to federal, state, and local policies. Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Potts spoke about it earlier. You know, well, I didn't quite check that box. Well, we didn't quite invite a parent. If you get in the habit of breaking the law, you break the law. You have to follow the law in order for our children to get what they need for you to access the funds that you do have available to you. You have to follow the law.
How do we ensure that? I mean, if we don't see certain information, we don't see forms that are being filled out. We just hear what we hear because I do believe it would have not been in the situation that it is if there had been more relationship as far as understanding, because we are not guilty.
Well, what I'm saying is you as a board and the leadership team can set the expectation that this is what we require. And you hold people accountable when they don't. So, you know, sometimes we say something and we don't really mean it because when somebody breaks it, we just kind of, so like if you're serious about it, you handle it. And you let people know this will not be tolerated. That is not the Benton Harbor way. We will educate our children. We will honor our parents. We will notify our families of what's going on with their children. Just set the expectation and hold your administrators accountable to doing that work. You have to have the expectation. It's no brainer. Like my expectation, the meeting I have, we start on time. If I'm talking to the wall, I'm starting on time. And whoever files in, because that's the expectation that I set for the meetings that I lead. And so and I hold people accountable to that. Another thing is to be sure, and I said this earlier, be sure parent complaints are addressed in a timely manner. Parents don't complain about what they don't care about. Right? If I care about how my food is when they bring it to me from the restaurant, and I complain about it because I care about what I eat. So these are their children, they're precious commodities. They're precious to them and they're treasures. So we need to honor that and do our very best to address them. And we're here to support. You don't have to make it up. If you don't know, call us. We're here. That's what we're here for. Don't suffer in silence. Use your resources. Districts that are high performing are very, very strategic in how they use their resources. They are not shy at all. They're first in line. I need you, could you come here? They're strategic because they want to be successful. And they know it takes more than just them doing it. It's a collaboration across agencies. And that leads to number 4 is be sure you collaborate with NDE and Bear Reese staff. We have ideas, we have solutions, we have corrective actions. Take it. Just take it. Just say thank you very much. What can I do? And do it. And then lastly is to be sure to implement the corrective measures so we don't have to have additional corrective action measures, because you're to the point now, there might be financial sanctions if we don't get it together because it's been 4 years. And as a deficit district, I'm still on the consent agreement. We can't talk about any additional penalties whatsoever. That's not the direction we're going. That's just not what we're gonna do. And of course, we all did this. This was the graduation walk, I believe, 2 years ago, where the kids go to the schools. I think this is so cool. I don't think I've ever seen this in a district that I've worked with or worked in, where the students wear their graduation garb and walk through the elementary and middle schools to kind of encourage. That is so great. And don't we want that for all our children, if they have an individualized education plan or not? So that's why we're here, because I always wanted to remember why we do what we do and why our standards and expectations are so high for doing this work at the level it is, because this is the reason why we do that work. Are there any questions or concerns you'd like to share? That's all that we had to share.
Any more questions or concerns from the board?
So after your review, are you going to provide us a report as to what we need to look for when we do this monthly Same compliance?
Yes, so as a part of, so that would be a part of the superintendent's report to you, and so all that information gets flowed through the special ed director and to your interim superintendent, and that will be shared with you. I do want to, thank you for asking that, because I forgot to tell you, there is a professional learning plan that is in effect since February all the way through June of 2019, that we are giving monthly training, pretty much led by Charles Thomas, Ms. Potts, and even our very recent team. So that's going on. And a subset of that is the discipline toolkit work that he mentioned. That will be doing training with leaders first on how to really identify what our discipline policy is, what our discipline procedures are district-wide, and then how to make sure our discipline procedures in our schools align with our district-wide policy. So that's the work we're going to be doing this spring and summer, and then next fall we'll have monthly dates set where we will come and work in the schools with teachers to be sure to do this work. So everybody's on the same page, how it is that we address students, how we teach students, how we serve our students, and how we deal with misbehavior when it occurs on a consistent basis and not in violation of the law. And for all students. So although we're talking about special education compliance, discipline toolkit is looking at how we handle discipline for general ed and special education students in both categories, because it's a systems issue. So all children are impacted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Next item on the agenda, Dr. Teets, please, if you could bear with us for a minute. Okay, we do have to do partnership agreement addendum, but next item is the real estate recommendation estimate cost. That would be right.
The real estate estimate cost, what you have here is kind of a sample of the survey that we sent out to parents. We presented some information to you all a couple weeks ago, and our recommendation was we were asked to come back with a recommendation based off of some information that was given to us by the board. So our leadership team went back to the table with the information that we were given by the board and took your recommendations along with a recommendation from the district, sent that information out to our parents. We're still getting those surveys in, and then this is the kind of dashboard that we have that we're presenting to you today. The information that we have is based off of the CSM estimate that we have, that's the numbers that we have, and then also based off of the MOVE financial reports from the MOVE that we had in the 2016 summer of 2016, which was just 2 years ago. So as you can see, based off, when we include the information from CSM, and we still have to get the inspection as well, and that's going to take about I think 90 days once we get that moving to get that inspection report. So all we have are the numbers that we have. So based off of these estimates, here's what you see for option one. That included one of the plans from the real estate plan the board presented. You have option two there, and that is opening up of 2 buildings, Fairplain West and Boynton. So that's why that cost is so high. And then you have option 3, which is the district's recommendation. And there is also an option 4 there, which is no change. And at the bottom by the asterisk, you see there's additional cost for central administration relocation to an alternative site. And so those alternative sites would either be MOK or the high school third floor, which is part of the plan. And so what we're going to do is bring to you a staff report next week for the board to vote on. based off of this information unless the board chooses to do something different.
Yes, trustee Hunt.
Have we looked beyond just the moving costs, the cost of transportation, additional need for administrators or secretaries or custodians, all those incidental expenses of running the buildings the next year, once those moves are made, should we do it? As you may be able to do the whole move for $1, but then if you have to pay a whole bunch of money that we don't have to operate, then it's not necessarily a good move at this time.
Trustee Go.
I thought that we had to have a public hearing before we vote, right? And vote.
So that's information. So from the other prior meetings, I had not gotten that information from the board, so, or anything like that. So I am really just taking information that you all, the direction that I was given by the board and presenting this information. So this is what we're presenting. If you don't need to, and we're not promoting either way. The district is not. You were given information to put this together. So if you want to have a hearing, public hearing, we can do that, and we can schedule that in as well. We just need to know what direction from the board we need to take, because we really could just stay in our buildings where we are now.
But we're probably gonna need some financial information on this too. Do we even have the money to afford to move at all? And if you don't have the information yet, that's fine, just tell me that. But
Some of the items, such as the transportation item, we know that number still needs to be had because you're going to be, depending on the relocation of students, you'll have, I think now we'll have the buildings concentrated by grade level, which probably makes some sense. The numbers you see here are just those rough costs of reopening the buildings. And as you can see, those numbers are enormous. And my first blush is that there's no way there's money to do that. The other options, one being doing nothing. But I think we also left in there, as we talked as an administrative group this week, the move of the administration building, close that thing up, and move it into another space. To get rid of one additional building out of there. But yeah, the transportation piece we haven't thought about, but I would let Ryan discuss whether you'd have to have additional custodians and things like that. And if we do, we'll be glad to cost that out for you.
the retained administration, secretaries, I mean, the whole shebang. Unfortunately, over the years, we thought, this sounds really good, and we didn't look for the unintended consequences. And then after we made the move, we're like, didn't think of that. So I hope that as we consider these options, we look at all possible consequences, good or bad.
Right, and if I may add to that point, option number 3 is the one that really requires no additional staffing. The only adjustment would strictly be an increased workload for some of the cleaning staff if we consolidated, per se, hypothetically, central administration into one wing of MLK. At that point in time, that staff is on a part-time capacity right now. It'd be reallocated over and be accommodated that way. The transportation piece, Mr. Lindsay's point, we've not had the opportunity to cost that out. But again, option 3 would have probably the least financial impact to that because the consolidation of the grades actually would lead to a beneficial pickups in the series, would be my guess at this point. The other 2 options, I mean, just to speak to things which are probably pretty evident, with a new facility, you're going to have increased staffing, you're going to have increased consumables, you're going to have increased all those things. So whatever the rough costs were for a current facility that houses that subpopulation of students, we could probably run an estimate out for you on that based on our current annual expenses for this past year.
Any more questions from the board? Trustee Mitchell.
Well, from looking at the numbers, it goes without saying that option 1 and 2, not possible for us to do this, based on these numbers. I would still like to see the inspection go forward on some real numbers. I still think these are inflated. With the planning purposes, I think option 3 would, accommodate our needs for what we've been talking about. That still hits our elementary fields, how MSA, which was a priority on that location. But I think that we need to schedule superintendent with the parents and the community to get their point. And that to be done prior to a board meeting rather than a separate. Let's come in an hour early and do that. So we can invite the community and the parents and hear from them prior to any votes.
Any other questions or concerns from the board at this time? Trustee Dawson.
Okay, so we're going to use some clarity. I don't know the cost as much. For it to clean up, I'm just looking at that, it's like a lot of money. So you're saying that you think we should still do the assessments. Which one are you talking about?
Last meeting we had asked CSM to give us real costs on what the state inspectors would tell us what we would have to have in order to reopen a Boynton or a West. So this $4 million number is a pie in the sky number that GMB gave us months ago with redoing everything in the building. We're saying maybe we don't do everything in the building all at once, but be in compliance with what has to happen in order to open. And that way we have to have a clear understanding.
So are you looking for both of those buildings to be inspected, both Boynton and?
Yes, I think the number was $500 for the inspection fee. That's not a cost prohibitive number. And then at least we'll know down the road or whatever what we have to do. So whatever we leave out here is going to be part of the plan. It goes back to the state, and we could lose those buildings through having someone else purchase them. I'm saying that if this $4 million is a reality, why would a charter school want to come spend $4 million on a building? But I'll guarantee you, if we sell it for the low price we got on the buildings, they're not going to have to spend about $4 or $5 million to occupy.
So then, Mr. Mitchell, the inspections that we're going to get, your vision is to have that information for future openings of the building.
Well, you're saying 90 days before the inspectors will do the work?
Correct.
And what is our timetable on having this plan up and running? Are we going to wait 3 months to do this, or are we going to do this next week?
Here's the thing about waiting is we have summer school that we need to plan. We also need to budget out for next year as well. So if we wait, we're holding up a whole bunch of other things. So we wait for the 90 days so we can get this information. Everything is going to be pushed back.
Well, I'd say we can move forward.
Then we also need to be cognizant of the fact that it's going to take 90 days to get that information, so we're going to go ahead and move, say, with option 3. And then we find out if we could go ahead and do those other buildings and it would be reasonable, then are we going to redo again another move? Are we going to change our mind and use Boynton and Fairplain West after we've already moved our option 3?
That's my recommendation, is we stand firm for whatever decision that we do make, and then have that information for next year. Let's say we get this abundance of students, we have this information readily available to open up a point or open up a West. But at some point, a decision does have to be made.
Yeah.
But I do think it would be good for the kids to have a playground. Moving them from MLK over to Union, they'll actually have a playground, swing, and all the way they can play. Cause that's what, pay for college, and then the bathrooms are set up for small children. So it's kind of like Dream in there with kid restroom facilities. So, I know they talking over, but it just kind of makes sense.
Trustee McGowan, did you have your hand
No, I
up?
thought I
Oh,
was gonna
sorry.
sneeze.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Just, so what we'll do next week is, and I'll work with, the board in setting up a meeting before the board meeting next Tuesday regarding option 3. Yes.
You're talking about the general public?
Yes.
Is that enough time to get it? Are you robocalling? We want to make sure that we get out and Harold Way. Yes.
That is in compliance with the policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right, okay, thank you. Any more questions for the real estate recommendation estimated cost? If none, we have the item on the agenda for the partnership grant and Ms. Robinson District Grant Award.
Yes, so what you have attached is a 21H grant. I shared that with you in one of the board memos. We do have to approve this grant. As part of the policy, this is over the $500 mark. So we do have to approve this. So you have a staff report attached. What you do need to do is to approve it because what's in the partnership agreement is funded by some of the 21H dollars.
Okay. We will wait until Mr. Mitchell comes back because we do need to vote on this evening. Okay. I will entertain a motion for the approval and acceptance of the district grant section 2H, for staff report number 1. I will entertain a motion at this time. It's grant 21H. I need a motion first.
I move to support the Winter Comprehensive Schools Board of Education Partnership Grant 21H in the amount of $310,000.
Thank you. I do have a motion and I do need a support. I have a motion and a support. Any questions or comments concerning the acceptance of Partnership District Grant 21H? Not, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Manley, yes. Mrs. Allen? Mitchell?
Yes.
And Ms. Seeds?
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the partnership agreement addendum, and Ms. Robinson, this is staff report number 2, if you would, please.
Yes, so this is staff report number 2. We do have Dr. Teasley here if you guys have any questions. So the addendum was shared with you, I think, last week at the last week's meeting. This includes the partnership district fund application, which we are using some of the $28 to fund the mentor. We have the mediator job description in there and also the mentor job description in there. So the staff report includes all of that.
We do have staff report number 2, partnership agreement addendum. I will entertain a motion at this time for acceptance of the agreement addendum. I have a motion. I need a support. I have a motion and support. Is there any questions or concerns? Either Dr. Teasley, if there are any questions concerning the front application, mediator job description, or the mentor job description as described?
So, I see the positions will be paid through the 21H. How much of that are
I'm sorry, say
How
that.
much of that are going to receive? of the 310? How much?
So this would be in addition to the 310. The 310 goes to the 3 items that were awarded that will not be touched.
Oh, okay.
These are additional funds. So today, I gave Mrs. Robinson a new 21H application that I did for the request for the mentor superintendent, because we want to expedite that so we can get the mentor superintendent here. So she's already signed off on that. I've already sent it to the review team for review. That will happen in the morning. So hopefully you'll be hearing soon about that being awarded. And we were trying to time it. I wanted it to be prepared because it was pending you approving the partnership agreement addendum, but we kind of got a vote of confidence that you were okay with what we were proposing from the January meeting when we were here with Dr. Keystone and Dr. Daniels. So I went ahead and did that application for you for the mentor superintendent, and I costed it out. It's probably about $25,000 or so, and that would be in addition to the 310 you already have, $310,000.
Any more questions for, yes, Mr. Mitchell?
Dr. Chase, as I read through the job description, one, I think it must be the mediator position. That's a non-educational type of person with different background in education.
Yes, it could be, absolutely. We're looking for someone that actually is skilled in mediation, and sometimes you can find mediators that are skilled in mediating in educational institutions, but we don't want to limit ourselves to that search, so I made it very broad in the description.
The mentor job description is a retired superintendent?
Yes, so they have the flexibility because the sitting superintendent won't have the time to actually attend meetings and be available during the day. So we wanted someone retired that would have the flexibility to really be on site, to really provide the support that the superintendent needs to do the work for the district. Sorry, don't disturb me.
You done?
Yeah, I didn't know, he looked like he had another one.
I'll sure.
Okay.
Okay, so, what success rate are you looking at for these individuals? Like, do they turn around the district? Do they, were they compliant and everything? Do they raise test scores? Like, when you're seeking out this mentor and mediator, is it somebody who actually succeeded?
Yes, because we know the context in which these people will have to work and serve. So we want to get someone that's tried and true. And Dr. Martin, my superior, I don't know if you met him yet. Some of the school board members have. So he is taking upon himself to do the hiring for these people. And he's keeping in mind all of the issues that I have raised about that are going on here in the district, that he has observed himself, that he's heard from you all directly, maybe your school board president who has represented you quite well in your concerns. So he is choosing someone that will give us a high success rate because we want you to be successful. So that is our goal.
Did this all come about because there was these two positions a need for mentor and mediator? Did this all come about because of what we're going through currently?
Yes, it did, sir. So during you may recall in December, I believe it was Monday, December 18th, the Department of Education, we met with you and several of your partners, mostly all of them, at Lake Michigan College to do a check-in of about 9 months of the partnership agreement. Mm-hmm. And from that, several concerns were raised regarding the communication between the board and the superintendent and the status of your progress on meeting the goals. So Deputy Superintendent Keesler came up with an action plan to give additional support to accelerate your achievement and progress on the partnership agreement, and her recommendations were shared, I think it was the January 30th special school board meeting. And in that was a mentor superintendent for the superintendent, a mediator if needed between the school board and the superintendent to really identify issues and come up with resolutions to it. There was also a clause where I would actually do an increased role of helping with reporting to the board, because it came to our understanding that there were questions that you asked that you didn't feel like you got the correct answer. So my responsibilities have increased, as you will see in the partnership agreement as well. And then I believe there was another category talking about us giving additional support of sitting in a safety review team to help you with some of the issues that you and the community have expressed about student safety. So it's really from all of the issues that were birthed out of that discussion December 18th. These are the remedies that Deputy Kiesler brought forward with, of course, State Superintendent's blessing to your district, which is why it's included in the addenda.
Any more questions or concerns? Madam Secretary, can you call the roll? I'm sorry.
I just got one statement.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just hope that, I know that we want to succeed. I just hope that this actually trickles down to the students and the students' achievement and what they need. You know what I'm saying? Because we're always catering to the top when we have so much lacking, like just presented the special ed. Day to day, simple solutions, just listening and hearing the parents' complaints, and that's been a huge concern. But I just hope that what the decisions that we're making are going to trickle down to the students and the actual student achievement, because when we look at this partnership agreement, it's like 30%, and in those areas we're at 0. So, and it's like we already done wasted the school year. It's about to be over. So,
and I agree with you, Mrs. Scully, and that is our intention, to be sure that the leaders who lead the work here have a significant impact in the quality of education that the children get. So you're right, so that is our intention, and that is what we're going to be working towards, to ensure that that happens, because, as I said, I started with children in the slide, and I ended with it because that is our intention, and why we do the work the way that we do it, to ensure that they get what they need. Because just us talking amongst ourselves and having meetings, if it's not changing the systems and the processes that our children and our families are succumbed, they have to suffer through sometimes. Unfortunately, we're not going to get the results that we need. So that's what we're really trying to do, and create those systems here so we can make sure that no matter who comes or who's leading, there's a system in place that is standard. If you think about some of the best organizations in the world, it doesn't matter who leads them up. They run like clockwork, because there are systems in place. It is written, and it is a culture that they refuse to let go southward and not upward. So that's what we're trying to create here in Benton Harbor.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, can you call the roll?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman? Yes. Dominic? Yes. Scully?
yes.
And Ms. Seeks?
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Teese. Next item on the agenda is Thoughtful Classroom, and I believe again, Ms. Thompson.
Yes, so what I have included here is an invoice for Thoughtful Classroom. This provided one-on-one coaching and feedback with the administrators around the Thoughtful Classroom tool, giving the administrators an opportunity to have someone beside them while they post questions, propose different suggestions to teachers for a whole day. So giving that practice of the one-on-one coaching versus having someone sit and get has been to be more beneficial to our administrators. So the invoice there is included, and I'll be bringing this to you guys next week for a staff report. I've also included just a snippet or a screenshot of some of the evaluation goals that the principals are putting into Stages, which is our online platform for the evaluation piece.
Ms. Mom, you have your hand up?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, thanks.
So this is kind of like someone who's going to walk beside them to help them learn the intricacies of doing the evaluation.
Absolutely. What we're finding is this one-on-one, where they're sitting side by side, they're getting this immediate feedback, which is a high effect size strategy for improvement. It's proven, proven beneficial for our staff. Yeah, just one-on-one.
Ms. Scott.
It's over 6 days.
Over 6
Over
days?
6
Oh, I
yeah,
thought
it was said, yeah.
Oh, I thought
We spent
you
a
said
whole
a
day
day.
with a principal.
Oh,
She's about to go into business, but I'm.
Yeah, that would be.
He tries to consult you there.
Absolutely.
So we'll look for this item on the agenda for either second projection week. Next item on the agenda, board members, for item number 8. You do have beside you policy 0144.3, and we're asking before you leave that you do fill it out and give it to Ms. West. It is the conflict of interest policy that we must disclose to the public and for our own reasons. And then also we have the confidentiality and conflict of interest policy disclosure. Please fill that out. I do have something that I'd like to read to all board members. Effective immediately, all board members are reminded that any information or fact acquired from an employee investigation or personnel matter shall not be disclosed by any board member to another individual. Board policy 0413C allows board members to discuss information obtained from an employee personnel records when there is a pending matter that requires a decision at a board member. After this decision is made, board members should not discuss or disclose facts or information related to the personnel matter or employee investigation. This did come from our attorney. I did receive a letter this evening, and I do have signatures, and one of the gentlemen who signed, he did leave, and I will turn this letter over to our attorney because it is not a matter that we can discuss, nor any of the questions can be answered by any board member. So I will turn this over to our attorney. Next item on the agenda, please, Mr. Mitchell, you were not present, that we do have conflict of interest statements that need to be turned in this night, or disclosure statement. Board self-evaluation results, self-evaluation summary. Ms. Molly, I believe. Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry.
The code, is this something new? I thought we did this before, when we, is this new to everyone? I didn't do this.
We have to do it once a year, though.
It is required, yes, once a year that it is done. It was brought to the board's attention that it had not been done so that we can file. Okay, so you will give that to Ms. West. Ms. Mount.
Okay, at this time, we need to take some time to go over our survey results, our self-evaluation survey. This is part of our partnership agreement that we must do. We need to take a look at this and see what areas we need to improve in, and we need to have a plan of how we're going to improve in the areas where we feel that there is the most need. To kind of give you a real quick overview, things like well, these are not real true colors, but there is a grid where, like, if it's dark blue, it's excellent, a green shading is good, yellow satisfactory, orange needs improvement, and the purple or reddish color is unsatisfactory. So we need to go through this and especially look where the unsatisfactories are so that we can concentrate on changing those unsatisfactories to, at least a little bit higher, work our way up to needs improvement or perhaps satisfactory, so that we are in compliance with the partnership agreement. And I will remind you that the new agreement, I believe I saw it under, is that we did this on our own this last year. We went online and we put it at home, but the new one says we have to sit down together for this. So next year we won't have the luxury of laying in our recliners and taking a survey. We'll have to work together to do it. So, if we go start, there's an overview on page 4 of all the different areas, all the different categories, decision-making, leadership, board responsibilities and stuff. If I jump around a lot, I drive Sue crazy.
You gotta go through all these pages tonight, is that correct?
Yes, but if what I would do, let's go to leadership. And what areas do you see where we might possibly need to work? That we need to point out and concentrate on next year? To me, I'm looking at Q3 and possibly Q7, which is deal successfully with controversial items and create an environment that ensures commitments and directives are in the best interest of all students. We got 3 satisfactories, but we got 3 that are at the bottom of the scale. Do we need to look at those 3 and Q7 as things that we want to work on? And if so, what steps are we going to take to improve those scores for next year?
We can pull out our 101.
Okay.
And just go out and train. Those things.
And how are we going to help each other to achieve these goals? Because it's going to have to be a collaboration and cooperation. So, is there an agreement that Q3 and Q7 is something, are things that we want, or you want those as possibilities so far?
I won't be here, so.
Yeah, I can be here until December.
I'm talking about this is next year's evaluation.
No, this is to work on from now, stay forward.
My question is, how do you create an environment that ensures commitment and directions are in the best interest of all students? How have you in the past created an environment, if it is a concern now? Was it working in the past? And what is the issue? Because we have 3, 3, and 1, and we only have 5 people here this evening. So, what does that environment look like? And what was the environment prior to this evaluation?
Okay, we are still required to do trainings, and we have a master sitting in the audience who can pull in people to help us, like we're doing coming up soon for our master calendar that we need to work on. So we can always seek advice and help from Dr. Teasley and people that work with her and around her that can give us some insight as to how we should do that and how others do it.
What if we didn't have a Dr. Teasley? And I'm not trying to be, what if we did not have a Dr. Teasley? As board members, how would board members honestly create an environment that ensures, and this is not just to Ms. Mommy, this is to us that completed this, how would we create an environment? And what would that environment look like? No.
No, because that's why we maybe need to sit down and maybe each month we take one item, talk about how we can do that. And so, is that one item that you want us to talk about? We'll put that on our, and each month or each meeting, we can take 5 minutes or so and read the question ahead of time so that you give suggestions on how would you like to see us create that environment? How would you like for us to deal with controversial items? So that each month we're solving a little piece of the puzzle and trying to move forward. That sounds good. Okay, yeah, I know. We are tired. We are very, very tired. Okay, Q3 and Q7 I'll put down. Let's go to academic performance and accountability. Pages 7 and 8. Where does this board see the most need? What comes out to me immediately is Q9. Monitor student assessment results and consider decisions by the superintendent staff related to program curriculum staffing changes based on student assessment results.
to add to that, I mean, we got the data for the test scores, but I'm like, I need an interpreter. Because we gotta know what we're looking at. We have the percentages, but we don't know like the levels of achievement, what we need to do. I know it's like not proficient or almost proficient, but just.
Okay, that's it, how to read the assessments. That's something that gets presented to us at a board meeting. And,
Mr. Mitchell.
sorry.
Now, I just, after looking at this and doing the assessment, so much of what we do and are supposed to do revolves around the person sitting in that chair over there. And that's the lack of, what we see here, because how many times have we asked, Angela asked, Martha, you've asked, Lisa, you've asked for data on different information, never received it. So, a lot of the onus has to be on the person that's sitting in as our superintendent. That's how we become effective. That's what has been lacking. All of these questions, all of these answers flows through that chair to us. And for us to be more effective, we've got to have the right person in everything that we do.
And also, how are we going to handle it in the future when we don't get the information? What steps are we going to take to assure that no matter who's in that chair, I mean, does we get to the point where we say no on decisions until we, agree as a collective that no, we don't have enough information, we will not make this decision at this time?
I think Dr. Peterson spoke to it very well earlier, that if the system's not in place, then that's on us, But anyone should be able to walk in here and sit in that chair and know exactly what we as a board, we as a community need. And that's what we have to do.
Like Ms. Taylor says, we have a fiduciary duty to the loyalty in her areas.
I also think when I look at the different scores, what I didn't understand, I would go to other school sites and I would see on that school site an explanation of how to read or assess different scores. So I would go to another website in order to understand NWEA or whatever. And they always had an attachment that helped you to understand what each column meant and to break it down, even as far as budget 101. So that's what has helped me. And and then not letting go of the question. Because sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. We'll ask a question, and then when we don't get the answer, we become either discouraged and we just drop it. So I just think making sure that we follow up on our questions. And then if we're not satisfied with the answer, then we're also required, like Ms. Gully just read, to make sure we get an understanding and not just drop the ball. So it is on a position, but it is also our fiduciary responsibility to make sure we get the right answer.
Down to board responsibilities. Board responsibilities.
May we go back?
Sure.
Regularly use a scorecard to publicly focus upon its strategic priorities. We don't do that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and I didn't, sorry, thank you. That, I think, would be where we require that our data person.
Who is that?
Oh, Julie's something or other.
Lopez.
Huh?
Lopez.
Yeah, I'm glad she said that. Okay, that maybe quarterly, she needs to come down and just do a review for us and help us to understand what the scorecard, because I'm not even sure I would recognize the lady if she walked in the door right now. So we've had no contact. And then that may be where we need to request quarterly updates and help us to understand.
We need more.
What?
Right now.
Okay. Quarterly, possibly more, depending on her availability.
Whatever the board decides.
Okay,
Work session or regular?
I would hope work sessions, but
Until we're comfortable.
oh, that's a good idea, until we're comfortable. Oh, you get a gold star for that. I won't be around for 36 months.
Whoever get these seats, they get to go in.
But yeah, and hopefully we'll have stuff.
Together.
Okay. All right, so. So are you ready to move down to board responsibilities?
Yes.
Okay. In general, this is one of our better areas. I see one weakness possibly is Q12, approve and monitor the budget based on the district's strategic priorities. I think that again is a dual role that we're not always necessarily getting the information that we need to make these decisions, and hopefully Kim can help us with this so that we can approve a budget based on the strategic priorities that we actually have priorities set in place rather than flying by the seat of our pants. Suggestion, yes, Ms. Kelly.
You know, maybe calculator, like the kind you can add some branches right here. So when it's time to review the budget, we can add up the line items to make sure they match. And the codes as to how the Title I funding is applied. So we'll know that, okay, this code was supposed to be used for this, and this is actually what they applied it to make sure we apply. So the Title codes.
Okay,
So
so,
that was the discrepancy.
well, yeah, I mean, and there was stuff floating all over in that, one month it was under one code, next month it was under another code. So can we say we're gonna work in collaboration with our CFO so that we can clarify the codes and get a better understanding of what is actually in our budget?
Which item are you on?
I'm on Q12. Yeah, and if necessary, give us an in-service if we need better clarity and understanding.
Because we can't do Q12 without understanding Q11, understand the basic principles of school finance, because you can show me something unless I know and use the structures and processes to keep the districts strategically focused. Because there is a policy that says we must ensure that the budget does not drop below a certain percentage for fund equity. And there are things as far as we're required to do that I don't need this gentleman to sit down with me and take me through numbers until I understand what the policies that are applicable to the financial structure. And then when I know what the policies and the structure is, then I can ask him questions because he can show me all numbers all day long and I'm still confused. So I think if we deal with the policy, state and federal as they're saying, so I would like to see Q8 for all the finances, and we cannot attend committee meetings, so why is Q15 here? And so maybe this whole self-evaluation needs to be self-evaluated to see what is applicable and what we can and cannot do. Not have committee meetings.
Do that one. What is the plan going to future? Dr. Kingsley or whomever, because this committee as a whole, for me, is not working, because when we were working in committees as 3 board members and staff, we as a board understood a lot more of the workings of the district than having one meeting at the work session to go over everything in each area. When we had a chair from the board, 2 board members that worked on curriculum, that worked on facilities, that worked on finance, the board had a better understanding coming into a workshop than what we do now, at least for me. I agree. And whomever, I think whomever brought this to the attention of the partners or whomever didn't want to go through the instruction on a monthly basis for a committee of that particular area, but as a board, this does not give me the information that I need to operate.
I'd like to speak to that. So the intention of the committee of the whole was not to diminish or decrease the amount of information they receive. So, but with that said, I explained to Mrs. Seats that on behalf of the board, she can file a written request to my superior, Dr. Martin, to request a review of that action step in the partnership agreement and a modification.
Can I ask how that came about in the first place?
So there was a concern about, remember when Superintendent Liston came last March, I believe it was, and he expressed a concern about the board staying in your lane and not micromanaging, if you will, the leadership of the district. So our intention through the committee of the whole, was to ensure that the board understood your governance responsibility and that the district leadership understood their leadership responsibility. In order for that to work, both parties have to uphold their end of the deal, which, as we're seeing now, because of the partnership agreement addendum with the need for a mediator and a mentor, that did not go as we had planned. So you have every right to request and to actually place your concerns in there. You can say before, this was the level of information you received under this governance structure with the one required under the partnership agreement. These are the drawbacks or the pros and cons to that. And you can definitely make a request to Dr. Martin regarding that, because in the agreement, everything in the agreement can be changed, or a request can be made to change, but it will be pending the state superintendent's final approval per the partnership agreement. But you can definitely make the request and make the case. And you definitely seem like you can make a case based upon what I'm hearing today, but we're just waiting on a official written documentation that you want to do that. So I can take it up the chain for review.
Okay, what is the will of the board? I did talk with Dr. Teasley, she did tell me that, but the board, other than maybe a couple of people, have not expressed any interest, so we're at this junction. What is the will of the board?
For me,
I am too.
That each one of us brings a specialty to this board. I think that 3 or 4 of us were in education all our careers. And so when Martha talks about curriculum, I understand what she's saying, and I can believe what she's saying. When Ms. McGowan talks about finance, I can hear what she's saying, believe what she's saying. I was a facility, so when I express that concerns to the board, the rest of the board, and hopefully they will take a look at what the facility side is going to do, and so on and so forth. There's just so much missing by doing it one shot.
Ms. McGowan, Ms. Momini.
I said, write up a proposal and
Okay,
I
I
make a
will say
request.
something to Mr. Martin as soon as possible, that there is a consensus of the board that the committees be reinstated.
And let me say this, it never was about micromanagement. It was about understanding
Absolutely.
what you were trying to accomplish. So,
I think what did happen is we brought ideas to the staff that we see that have been implemented. And so I agree, it was never micromanaging. And that's what I learned, the system is through the committees. I don't learn it sitting here in a board meeting, and even the presentations, even as well as they're presented, it is still not the quality of time that we got from sitting on committees. So I will Who's the will of the board to get that to Mr. Martin as soon as possible.
And would you be sure to copy me this to see so I can be sure to follow up?
Yes, ma'am, I will, thank you.
And Ms. Seats has just whispered to me another one, Q7. But let me also make a comment about, we're not perfect on any of these. So how many of these do we want to choose to work on this year? Do we want to choose the ones that have the most unsatisfactories? I mean, yeah, it's not saying we're not gonna work on these others, but what ones are we gonna commit to the partnership agreement? How many do we want to do? How many of these absolutely need to be done now? And how many,
What is the total number between now and, can we go through all of them and make sure that we complete all of them before, the end of the year? I mean, I don't want to miss any of them.
what is the year?
I mean, I'm talking about even into the next school year, we still should be working on these items.
But we still need to prioritize what we're going to work on, right?
Right, so.
And the ones that, you know, have the lowest scores, to me, I mean, if not.
I'm good with whatever the board decides to do, but
Basically,
like we need help.
Yeah, which ones do we want to work on currently to improve first?
And make a suggestion.
Yes, please.
So what I recommend is take an assessment of where your district is right now, the context, and choose the goals that will best serve you in moving this district in the direction you want to, right? So the ones that are most relevant for you right now, between now and I would say June, July. Those should be the ones you work on. It might be 3, it might be 6, I don't know. But pick the ones that are relevant to you, because the whole point of a professional learning plan is for it to be personalized and customized to your needs. We don't want you doing artificial sessions on topics that are relevant to your situation. Do what works with you, which is why Dr. Daniels and I will be coming to work with you on the master calendar, because you all expressed the need to do that, so you can set some concrete dates, times, and sessions with reaching out to the community and determining how you will function as a board. So make it relevant for you, don't make it artificial. Do what's gonna serve you, I would say at least between now and the summertime, and then you can always revisit what you need to, you can always add.
At a quick count, there's 62 items on there.
And realistically, you really can't do anything well beyond like, no more than 7. So, you know, I wouldn't go beyond that.
I think our finance one is important to all of us, correct? Understanding finance and then, we're talking about Julie and the quarterly or possibly more working with us, which I think ties into data-driven decision making. We have a lot of reds and purples in that one. And that may be an area that we want to concentrate on. We see, that seems to be the area that we have the lowest scores in general. Okay, what are you looking
I
at?
guess that's 3. So, I mean, you got orange there.
Okay, with data-driven decision-making, to me, would cover the academics. Because we will be looking at the data on our academics, and we will get the data that we need for our academics to make those decisions. So as a whole, you want us to work then on the finance, on the data-driven decision-making, which would include Julie on the scorecard, and what other section is extremely important to us right now in the situation that we're in. Then we've got leadership, board responsibilities, board effectiveness, board superintendent relationships, community engagement, And then academic performance and accountability, which I think ties into the data-driven decision-making. What would you like our third one to be? Oh, don't everybody talk at the same time, I think.
It looks like board effectiveness, we're not effective. According to the assessment, what is satisfactory?
It's satisfactory. I mean, community engagement is at 2.95, unsatisfactory. Board superintendent relations is below that.
Mrs. Longley,
Yes.
community engagement, given some of the comments, Ms. Ellis made, this more than likely one that you want to consider with really building trust with your parents, just as an example.
Yeah, so there we go on our community engagement, and there was a meeting this morning, a couple of us, along with Superintendent Biscuit and Dr. Teasley, and one of our partners, and that we had a parent came in and voiced some very specific, vociferous concerns. And in fact, she's trying to get together a group of parents to work for our children and with our children and advocate for our children. So that might be where we want to do it, is community engagement and advocacy. Is that agreeable with everybody? I know we all want to go home, especially Dr. Teasley, she's got a long drive.
I'm staying at the hotel tonight.
Oh, okay, well, we already used the pool. Okay, so. That is true, after a certain time, maybe, that's what we gotta get this done. So, can we agree, we know we need to work on all of these, but can we agree that we want to have better understanding and learn more about the finances, well, you know, that we work on the data-driven decisions and making sure we have the data in a timely manner and the amount we need, and that we're going to work on community engagement. Can we agree to those three major? Okay, thanks. Yeah, well, we can address it later on. We may, somewhere down the road here, a couple months, we may say, ooh, we got another problem. Or we're doing really good or something, so we can go on and concentrate elsewhere. Okay, so that should take care of that requirement. So, yeah, so Ms. Kelly? Okay. And then if you want to read it, there is a summary that they wrote for us, and remember, it's just a quick summary, because if we wanted a more detailed summary, we were going to have to pay money. Yeah. It's up the day, which is something. So, okay, we should be set in that section of our responsibility of the partnership agreement.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, next item on the agenda is partnership agreement update, and is Ms. Ross.
This update is being consistent with the pattern or the practice that has been in the past of sharing this information as it relates to the partnership agreement. There is just some highlights there about us receiving the 21H funds, and then also our district applying for the holistic grant, which is grant funded by the District Department of Education, designed to help schools develop school-wide support systems. So all of these pieces will work together with the discipline toolkit, our blueprint, framework, it all aligns. And then you just have just your general things that are usually included with the update. You also have at the bottom the graph on where we are as of today, with March 5th as being our target date. So you have graphs that will show you where we are. And you can scroll down and see where we are.
Any questions?
Did we originally have a meeting scheduled with the partners for March? It got changed to April, or am I confused with another meeting?
So Yes, there were meetings that were scheduled monthly and then meetings that were scheduled quarterly. As there was something put out according to some information that I received, that kind of an email sent out to the partners to see where they wanted to go with the monthly meetings. Most of them responded back saying they did not want to have the monthly meetings. However, this March meeting, I am going to send out an email asking if they would consider having a March meeting. And then we would also have the April meeting.
I'm not as crazy as I thought it was. No. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Robinson? No questions? Okay, I have no comments. Item 10, Ms. Robinson, do you have any comments?
I just have just a couple. Just wanted to thank Dr. Teasley and her team for coming out and explaining and having the crucial conversation about the special education compliance issues. And then also, I know Mrs. Coach Harvey is gone. I also want to just kind of congratulate her. And also, just one more thing in response to our parent dashboard meeting, we do have the link to the parent dashboard on our website in 2 different places. It is going to also be shared with parents and parent-teacher conferences. We'll have also a table set up in front giving parents an instruction sheet as well. And my goal is to meet with Mrs. Ellis to see how we can get that information out onto the radio, her radio show that she hosts.
And are we using our radio station, Ms. Robinson, for communication, students in here?
For this CTE?
Yes, ma'am.
I will check it out. You know, this is
Thank you. Comments for board members, Ms. Kelly, Ms. Momini.
Mrs. Robinson, thank you for looking ahead on the parent dashboard and getting that ready to be shared with parents. And it would be nice if the people had some warm thoughts and prayers for our state superintendent, Brian Winston. He is in a major battle right now, and we could use all the prayers and help that he can. And that's it.
Trustee McGowan. Trustee Mitchell.
I need a couple of things.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Robinson, would you please answer Mr. Canary and his home?
Yes.
I mean, that's been going on for 10, 11 months.
Yes, sir. Yes, we did send out a letter. So we may just need to set up a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And second thing, prior to Ms. Gibbs leaving, we have voted at the board meetings regarding having an RFP put together for a developer as far as seeing if there was any interest in a K-12 building for the property that we own. So I think Mr. Lindsay needs to get with you to continue that, because we would like to see if there's any interest in the United States for someone doing that.
So you're talking about a donation for a building to happen, or?
No, for developers to build.
Oh, a developer to actually build,
And
partner with the school district to do it. Okay.
Because in order to sustain what we have here, it's no brainer over a period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any announcements or reminders at this time? None? Okay, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Support, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Notice how quickly you give a motion and support on Okay, Ms. Kelly? Yes. Ms. Cease?
Yes.
Romney, yes. Ms. McGowan? Yes. Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at this time.